Originally, I had intended to talk about Pokemon for the first part of this podcast today, but I actually have a lot to say about the new Assassin's Creed movie, so I think we're going to go into that first. Okay, so Assassin's Creed. Here's my history with Assassin's Creed. I played everything pretty much up through Assassin's Creed 3. After 3, I stopped. So I do have a long history. I've put hundreds of hours into the Assassin's Creed games. So did I think that an Assassin's Creed movie was going to work when I first heard about it? Yeah, I did. I think that while the story of Assassin's Creed was not overly good by even like video game standards, I thought that it was enough where they could have made it into a movie. I didn't know exactly what they were going to do with it, and I didn't really follow it up until the release, so I didn't really know that they were doing actually a new kind of a character and standalone kind of thing. I didn't know if they were going to take like Ezio and do a kind of standalone thing about Ezio, or I didn't know if they were going to take Connor and do something about that. I didn't follow it, so I had no fucking idea what they were going to do. Yeah, so but I didn't see the movie yet, so this is all just coming from online reactions. So far it seems that the critics hate the movie. Now, do I believe in movie critics? Yes and no. I mean, even the greats like Roger Ebert was occasionally wrong. Like, he absolutely hated Tommy Boy, which is one of the great comedy classics in my opinion. He does occasionally get it wrong. He hated Hocus Pocus, which a lot of people love as kind of a fun holiday movie for Halloween, of course. Is it a great movie? No, not by any standards, but is it a fun movie? Yeah, and to give it like 0 stars, I think he gave that movie, is kind of unwarranted in my opinion. But even the great critics occasionally get it wrong, and what we need to remember is that this is opinion, right? Critics are opinion journalists, right? They're trafficking their opinion about the movies. Their opinion does not constitute the vast majority of people, and the fact that no critic, at least that I know of, is a big gamer, to me says that almost no critics are qualified to kind of make those judgments as far as the standard movie critics go. Now, when you go to websites like IGN or Kotaku or whatever, and you hear their opinions on it, I think that those are actually more relevant because these are the people that have actually played the Assassin's Creed games. They are invested in the universe and they have more to kind of say about it. That's kind of more, I would say, a more developed opinion based on the past series and the story and all that kind of shit. That said, Kotaku hated it. I haven't looked at any other websites, but it seems that the general consensus is that the movie is really bad. The pacing seems to be one of the major issues that they say, which was one of the big issues with the Warcraft movie, by the way. The Warcraft movie was just horrible, like draggy kind of. The movie itself was not, like, altogether was not terrible, but it could have been a lot better if it hadn't just dragged through, like, a ton of exposition, like, setting up future movies and shit like that. Like, the movie was just so terrible because of that reason, and we're actually going to come back to the Warcraft movie in a second. But, so here's the question I want to ask. Why do video game movies always suck? And it seems that they always do. So the first video game movie that I ever saw was the Super Mario Brothers movie, the one with Leguizamo and Bob Hoskins. Yeah, that movie was awful. There's absolutely nothing good thing I can say about that. It is an absolute piece of trash. It literally is too good to flush down the toilet. Like, if you have any copies, it's not even worth plugging up your toilet. Like, it's just an absolute piece of shit. That being said, I came back and I watched the movie like 10 years later, after having kind of developed a love for hate watching certain movies, and I actually enjoyed it in kind of not a good way, but like I enjoyed watching how terrible it was. It's fun. It's fun to kind of hate watch terrible movies like that, but it is a horrible movie. And fast forward to the Doom movie. That movie bombed. That was terrible. The whole thing was just all over the place. And then at the very end, like, I can imagine the writers sitting around in the room and one guy's just like, what if we do a fucking first person scene just like in the video game? That'd be fucking awesome, right? No, it wasn't awesome. It fucking sucked. Oh, that was literally the worst part of the movie. It was so cringy. and the special effects were so terrible. Oh, it was horrible. Like, I could see why they thought maybe it was a good idea, but it just was a horrible, 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 horrible idea. And then fast forwarding again to the Warcraft movie, Warcraft was the movie that I thought was going to break the mold. I literally thought that the Warcraft movie was going to be the one where people are like, okay, the video game movie curse is over. This movie is fucking amazing. This is great. But it wasn't. And I don't understand why it wasn't awesome. Like, the Warcraft universe has such a great and enthralling story to it. Like, there's 3 strategy games. There's an MMORPG that has a ton of story. The whole thing is basically story based if you take out the PvP and arena elements. And it has literally series, plural, multiple series of novels. It doesn't get any more story based than that. I've personally read the War of the Ancients, I think it was called, the trilogy. That was fucking amazing. And if they would have just pulled one of those books and made it just scene for scene into the Warcraft movie, that would have been a fucking amazing movie. But they didn't do that, and I don't really know why they didn't do that, because the material was already there to make a great movie, but it fell flat on its face. They were trying too much to set up other movies, and they weren't trying enough to make just a really good story kind of a movie. Yes, the budget was there. Yes, the effects were really cool, but newsflash, guys, if the story isn't there to back it up, then it's not gonna go well, right? Like, why does no one talk about Avatar anymore at the time? Like, it still is like one of the top selling movies of all time, and I hate it when people use that argument to say that it's such a great movie when it's really not a great movie. The story was really like shot for shot Dances with Wolves, like seriously, which wasn't even that great of a movie in my opinion to begin with. And it was kind of all over the place. It went way too long in my opinion. It dragged, and no one watches it anymore because it just wasn't that good of a movie. The only reason that people talked about it was because of the huge special effects leaps that were made and the huge amount of money that was spent on doing it. But spending that kind of money is not worth it. I mean, why do people watch YouTube more than they watch regular TV? TV has the budget, TV has the effects, TV has all of the bells and whistles, but the content is more on YouTube, if you ask me these days. Like, why do people listen to secular talk or watch the Young Turks, for example, over watching like CNN and stuff like that? Like, why are they so competitive? They're literally shooting, like, secular talk shoots out of like a small room like what I'm doing right now, but the Young Turks literally shoots out of like a shitty warehouse in California. Why do they have so much more, or why are they competitive with these huge behemoths? And the reason is that, yeah, content matters, guys. Content is king, guys. Seriously. People think that, oh, if it looks so good, then it's just going to be good, but that's just not what it was. And now I know some of you guys are sitting out there like saying, oh god, the Warcraft movie did so good though. Guys, it did good in China. It didn't really even do that good overseas except for China. And it certainly didn't do good in the domestic market. Like, literally, China is what made that movie a commercial success. And I really don't know why. I mean, I know China has a huge WoW community, or maybe just all the gold farmers coming off work. They're just like, oh, we done farming gold for today. Maybe we go sleep now. We work 18 hours. We need sleep. And then one of the other guys like, oh no, we go see Warcraft movie. We need to do something related to work. And then they all go fucking watch the Warcraft movie. I know that's not what happened, and I know that there's not that many gold farmers. I literally just think that China has a huge World of Warcraft community that really, really loves the universe and everything, and I think that they all went out to see the movie. I think that in America there is a pretty core fan base of World of Warcraft players, but I think that the vast majority of the Warcraft fan base has kind of moved on. I would be an example of that. I was huge into World of Warcraft in high school, but unfortunately I kind of just got tired of it and moved on and have never looked back. I mean, people say Legion is really awesome and that I should go back to it, but now it's like my life has started. I don't have time. I'm not invested in the universe anymore. I saw the movie mostly because a lot of my friends wanted to see the movie and I wanted to talk about it with them, but otherwise, honestly, if I didn't have friends that were still playing World of Warcraft, I don't think I would have even seen the movie. And I think that's where a lot of people are right now. So I think the movie needed to do more than just appeal to the core fan base of Warcraft. I think that That's probably the same problem that the Assassin's Creed movie has. I think that if you are a huge fanboy of Assassin's Creed, of course you're gonna love the movie. But I think that if you're just a regular moviegoer and you just want to see a good movie, I don't think that this movie is really gonna appeal to you, and I think you're gonna be more affected by what the critics are saying about it, which again is mostly negative. And so you're just not gonna turn out for it, and it's not looking good, guys. Unfortunately, for video game movies in the future. If the Uncharted movie happens, I hope that that would be much better, but I'm not sure anymore. I really don't have a lot of faith in the game industry and Hollywood's collaborations. Uh, it's really just, you know why it pisses me off really badly? It pisses me off. I think it pisses me off mostly because, where was I going with this? Sorry, I just completely lost my fucking train of thought. It pisses me off because this allows people to continue to say that video games are not good storytelling mediums. Video gaming is not a good storytelling medium. Why? Because they'll say, well, every time they try to translate a video game into the silver screen, it just bombs. So that is evidence that video games are a terrible storytelling medium, and it's just not true. I mean, look at the video games that most people play. Call of Duty, Battlefield. Yes, Call of Duty has a horrible story. Battlefield has a horrible, if it even has a story. I don't even know if Battlefield 1 has a story. I don't fucking play those games anymore. But terrible story, terrible story, terrible story. All these games, Madden has no story, right? FIFA has no fucking story. But yet these are the games that most people play, because a lot of people like sports, a lot of people like shooters because it's kind of a way for them to relax after work and it's competitive. So I understand all that, and I don't begrudge anyone for playing those types of games if that's your thing. But there are amazing games with amazing story out there. Look at the Uncharted series. Naughty Dog in general, like literally, The Last of Us is a fucking like masterpiece. If they were to turn The Last of Us into a movie, like shot for shot, just take out most of the gameplay and replace it with like live action shooting scenes and shit like that, and just keep everything else shot for shot the same, the dialogue and everything, I literally think that movie would be a huge success. Like, the story is so amazing with that. There's a lot of games. I'm a huge JRPG player, and while you can argue that there are some JRPGs that have terrible stories, and I would totally agree with you, even the AAA ones like Final Fantasy have had ones that have had terrible stories. But there's a lot of, they're mostly story based, right? And in the old days, before actual audio, voiced cutscenes was a thing. You actually had to read all the dialogue, so it's actually kind of like reading a novel, except it's a little bit more interactive. And that was always kind of my excuse for when I was younger, for why I didn't read so many novels. I used to read a lot when I was in elementary school and when I was in middle school, and by the time I hit high school, I had almost completely replaced that block of my time with JRPGs. There's only so many hours in a day, right? And I'd rather play a video game than fucking read. I still do read, but I don't read nearly as much as I used to. But the point is that there are so many great story-based games out there that they could make into movies, and I think that they could be commercial successes. I think, though, that they need to try to not pander so much to the fan base, which by comparison to the overall number of moviegoers is very small. They need to just focus on making a great movie. Don't set up this really vague kind of thing like the Warcraft movie did, this exposition for future things that anyone who's read all the books and played all the games, they're going to know all the characters and they're going to be super connected, and so they're going to be super interested in what's going on. But if you're not one of those people, the story is just really boring and drags on forever. Don't be like that. I think that they need to do a lot better in the future. Another thing about the Assassin's Creed movie was that they actually kept a lot of the Spanish scenes. By the way, the main character, the Animus character, is a Spanish assassin, so of course he speaks in Spanish. And they tried to have Fassbender, the character that plays the main guy, or the actor that plays the main guy, Fassbender, who I believe is German. They had him speaking Spanish, a language which I'm assuming he doesn't speak natively, and so that they said that was kind of weird. I I haven't seen it, so I don't know, but I think that's probably fair points. There That was another thing that I always hated about the games was I understood the whole point of like the Animus translates all the language into English because that's what the main character Desmond, his language of course was English. So of course that made sense, but then they would keep certain words, yeah, as the original Italian or whatever, like bene and like molto buono and stuff like that. Like they would keep all of that in the Italian just to kind of give it that Italian effect. I fucking hate pandering like that. I wish they would have either just kept it all in Italian and just subtitled it all, or they would have just made it all English. Like when you do that, every time I just cringe. Like every time he says bene, I'm like, I cringe. I'm like, fuck, dude. Like you're trying too hard, man. Like just it's just so cringy, guys. I wish they wouldn't have ever done that, and it sounds like it's just as cringy in this movie as well. But yeah, needless to say, I'm pretty pissed off about this. Mostly because it does give people the right to continue bashing video games for being a poor storytelling medium, and it's just not true. It's just not true, you guys. For Christmas, guys, you guys need to get out there and you need to support these great story games. Heavy Rain is a great one. Of course, The Last of Us, Uncharted 2 especially. 3 was alright as well. 4 is good. 1 is good, but it's not as good as some of the other ones. 3 is not that great either. If I had a gun to my head, I would say play 2 and 4 if you had to choose. Final Fantasy 7, 9 to a large extent is good. 10 is great. A lot of people don't like 10. I don't know why, but I love Final Fantasy 10. It's a great game. So yeah, this holiday season, guys, support the storytelling games. If you're into that sort of thing, of course, they're gonna need the help, you guys. Seriously, Hollywood keeps ruining video gaming.